We are going to enter the market in a scaling fashion, just like we would with an individual stock. Typically, the way we get into a stock is you buy your initial position, half your position first, and as it's proving itself, you're scaling in a little bit more in a pyramid fashion. So the higher the stock goes, the less you're adding to your position until you have a full position. Same with how we're going to enter the market. At your first buy signal, you're going to enter in up to 30% invested. And then each succeeding buy signal, you're going to add your exposure by in smaller and smaller amounts. So, your first buy signal is 30% exposure. The second buy signal, you're going to add an additional 25%. That takes you up to 55%. The third buy signal is going to add an additional 20% exposure. So now you're up to 75%. And then fourth is 15% more, taking up to 90%. And finally, 10% for the final buy signal, and we're fully invested. For purposes of the way we did our model, we did not include margin. If you guys want to trade a margin, you can, but the way I wouldn't just double this for margin. That would be way too aggressive. You wouldn't want to be 60% in on your first buy signal. The way I would use margin, if you want to do that, is, and if you have some experience in trading or investing, is I probably wouldn't get on margin until the count was full at a +5. Because at that point, the market is actually probably trending well, you're doing well, and you've got some cushion in your account. And once you have some cushion, you can start getting more aggressive. So you definitely don't want to be in margin until you're building up some cushion in your account. Now, when we have sell signals, we're going to take them off the top. So we're going to scale out first just a little bit when we get our first sell signals. If we were at a +5 and we got a sell signal, we'd only have to back off a little bit, just 10% of your portfolio. You get a second sell signal, you're going to back off a little bit more. And you're still in 75%. A third sell signal takes you down to 55%, another one would take you down to 30%, and then finally, if you go back to 0, you would back out of the market. So that's how we are going to apply the buy and sell signals and how that's going to translate into our overall market exposure. So any questions on that? Yeah. Okay, great question. The question was, what if you're in a market crash? What happens? Well, if you're fully in and you get a market crash, you're going to get a 10 sell signals and you're going to go to 0. Our system is not predictive. We can't predict a crash. But we do have a special thing in here that we're going to talk about it when we talk about the what ifs, because that's a what if question. And we have something called a circuit breaker in there, which forces you out of the market. So we're going to talk about that a little bit later in the day, so kind of where things that may happen. Just to quickly address the question now, which was, you get a buy signal, you win 30%, how many stocks should you buy, or are there even stocks to buy? Well, that's the other half of really portfolio management is, if there are no stocks breaking out of bases or the proper pivot point, don't buy anything, wait until you have a proper buy point. Sometimes what we might do, if we get a follow-through day and we can't find any stocks to buy, we might buy the triple Qs. We might buy the market index just to get some exposure, because Bill will always say, on a follow-through day, you have to buy a stock. You need market exposure on that follow-through day. Almost as a way of forcing you to get market exposure, because if you're in the midst of a bad market and you get a follow-through day, you are going to be scared. You've just gone through a tough period. There's a lot of negativity in the environment. It's hard to actually pull that trigger and buy a stock when you're in the midst of a bad downtrend. So Bill will say, you know what, you have a follow-through day. This is potentially the beginning of a big rally. You never know, it could fail tomorrow. But it potentially can lead to something, so you have to try to find something to buy. So you should always have a watch list, which is up to date. You should always be searching for things potentially breaking out. But if you have gone through all the efforts to find stocks, and you get a buy signal and there's nothing to buy, sit with cash until you have something. Right, so that's an excellent point. Okay, so let's go over the little thing we did in the introduction where I was introducing the system to you and what we're doing today. Because now we know all the buy signals and sell signals. So we can go through the same scenario and know what we're looking at. So, we are in a downtrend here. The market has this kind of nice reversal day, intraday. We're going to talk about this period a little bit later. This day here was when Countrywide, California lender, was having liquidity concerns. So this is kind of right when we were starting to have all the mortgage crisis in 2007. This is around that period. And so we're out of the market here. We're waiting for a follow-through day. And we get a follow-through day on the 5th day. So our exposure goes to +1, so we can be in 30%. Now, a few days later, you undercut that follow-through day, so you're back to 0. Now, that also qualified as a bad break. So I remember earlier we had a question about how do you weigh the different signals. We don't weigh them differently. We have 2 buy signals, but we're only in at a +1, so we're back to 0. So we grayed out one of the sell signals there. We didn't need it. Now we get another buy signal. We get an additional follow-through day. So we can kind of ease back in. Now we're above the 21-day moving average. Your low is above the 21-day. The green line here is your 21-day. So our exposure goes to +2, which would be 55%. Now we get 2 more buy signals. We are above the 50-day moving average here, and you get an additional follow-through day. So now you can be as heavy as 90% invested, and the market is going to pull back now. So we get a sell signal, we break back below your 50-day moving average, and now you're below your 21-day moving average. So we went from a 90% back away to 55%. You get another buy signal. A lot of signals kind of revolving around the moving average. And you can see that in this time frame, you're not going to make a lot of money. The market goes up, it pulls back, it goes up, it pulls back. The market really isn't trending here, and you can't expect to make a great deal of money in this kind of environment. Unless you're a very active trader, and you're just locking in gains super quick. But over here, we get a 23rd day follow-through day, and we go above a higher high. And now we're fully invested at a +5, 100%, right before the market does start to trend. And we can enjoy the rally that ensues over the next 5 to 6 weeks. We get another additional signal here. You're back above your uptrending 50-day, but we don't need it. We grayed it out because we're already fully invested. You can't go over a +5 unless you have what we call a power trend condition, which Mike is going to talk about.